Hey, bro, can you just promise me one thing, bro? Promise me that for the next 6 months, you'll give it your all. No averageness, no laziness, no excuses, just pure effort. Because truth be told, that's all that you're missing. It's just effort. If you just hone in, block out the noise, get off the ground, get off your phone, tell your weaknesses no, and tell your strengths yes, I promise you by the end of the year, you'll be in a totally different situation. But I can't want it more than you. You gotta make that choice. Let's see what you do, bro.
Motherfucker, if a person walked a day in your fucking shoes, they would fall the fuck apart. Do you know the strength it even takes to take one step forward as you? And how easily you discount the weight that your life carries? People love to judge from the sidelines, but if they were put in the game, they would strike out on their first try. And I think that because I carry that pain, it makes me weak. That pain does not make me weak. It is a sign that I am strong enough to carry it.
You are doing just fine. I promise you are. And I know it may feel like life's kicking your butt right now. And it very well may be. I mean, let's be honest. It's not easy. But it doesn't change the fact that you're still here.
Start living like a savage who deserves success, abundance, happiness, security, prosperity, legacy, meaning, fulfillment, significance, purpose.
What you find out is most people don't really want it. Most people are scared to go all in. Most people are scared to sacrifice themselves. And then I realized that, man, there is no shame to admit that you're afraid. And when I made peace with that, it changes everything in my life. Whether you're a fighter, an entrepreneur, or whatever, it's with the preparation. The more well you prepare, more you will build up your confidence.
You're still kicking. And with all the other countless battles you've had to fight just to get to this point here, it says a lot about you. You should give yourself some credit for that. And if no one's told you in a while, I'm proud of you. I admire your strength. And I mean that with everything in me, my friend.
I think the first thing a person needs is they need a dream. You gotta have a dream. I don't know how people survive in life with any kind of peace or happiness or fulfillment without having a dream. A dream needs to be something that there is a possibility of fulfilling. Otherwise, it's not a dream, it's a fantasy. But you need a dream. And don't be afraid to dream big. You know, the saying is that if your dreams don't scare you to death, they're not big enough. Your dream needs to be bigger than you are right now.
There's a specific person that you've got to get out of your life right now. It's the person that wants to remind you of who you were. It's the person who wants to remind you of how you used to be, what you used to do, how you used to do it. That used to person's dead. Anybody who wants to resurrect that person cannot be in your life. There is nothing more important than getting people out of your life that want to pretend you're the person you were yesterday. They want to act like you're the person you were yesterday. You're evolving, you're growing, you're advancing. You need to be focused on you right now, and anybody that wants to bring you back, anybody that wants to pretend you are the same person that they knew 1, 2, 6, 7 years ago, get them the hell out of your life.
Trajectory. Focus on your trajectory. You can't keep living in this all or nothing mentality where you have to do the perfect set of perfect things in the perfect order, just like that guy you follow on Instagram does. That guy's full-time job is personal development. He gets paid to sit in a cold plunge. You don't. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to mess up. So if you have that all or nothing mentality, when it's not all, it's going to be nothing. You're going to be the guy that gets one flat tire and then gets out of his car and slashes the other 3 simply because he doesn't have 4 perfectly inflated tires. Makes no sense. The measuring stick is not, am I perfect? The measuring stick is, did I get closer to who I want to be, or did I get further away? Am I moving in the right direction? Am I going down the right path? Focus on path over perfection.
You're doing this for you. And this is something I've only realized relatively recently, but after a certain level of material comfort, the only person that you need to do this thing for is you. Your conscience knows when you're being honest and when you're not. I think optimizing to make that person happy, that conscience happy, is a really good idea.
What if problems were always gifts? What if every single problem really was a gift in your life? What if every problem you ever had was life happening for you, not to you? What if everything in our lives was guided? What if everything in our life was divine timing? Everything, even the pain.
What are you going to do when no one's watching? Are you going to operate to your standard? Or are you going to cut corners? I can tell you this, dude. I try very fucking hard to operate at my standard all the time, 24 hours a day, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching, because that's when you actually gain more of the discipline and strength that you need to uphold those standards. I think every single fucking human should have a set of core values and a mission statement and a vision for their own lives. And most people don't. Most people just go along with the flow. They swing into someone else's vision and they stay there for a little bit, and they swing into someone else's for a little bit. And then they get to be older in life and they're like, why the fuck has nothing worked out for me? Well, the reason nothing's worked out for you is because you don't live what you say you're about. You don't have a plan for yourself. You don't have a mission statement for yourself. You try to cut the corners when no one's watching. Bro, you'll lose that way. That's just it.
It's always harder, takes longer, and costs more than you think it will. It makes sense because if it did it, then everyone would have it. And if everyone had it, then it wouldn't be worthwhile. And so if it's hard, that's amazing because it will make you that much harder once you conquer it. And it will also make it harder for anybody else who wants to follow in your footsteps. And so the higher up the mountain you climb, the thinner the air gets, and the rarer the climber or explorer must be in order to get there.
If you can survive temporary pain, on the other side of temporary pain, you will meet another version of you. Every time I wanted to quit, I didn't make a decision to not quit the rest of my life. I made a decision not to quit for one more day. One more day, just don't quit. One more day, hang up.
People who win are disciplined about winning. They don't just casually take a look at this. They don't just casually try something. They jump in with both feet because they absolutely intend to win at it. And that's going to require discipline and consistency on your part. As you start to study, you're going to learn things. You're going to learn the skills that you need. That's going to require discipline on your part. All of which, by the way, you can learn any of these skills. You can learn anything, but you're going to have to be disciplined.
There's this revered master who everybody wants to study under, and it's almost impossible to get to him. And so he's interviewing candidates. And the aspiring samurai comes to him and says, how long will it take me to be a master? And he says, 10 years. And so then the young samurai, eager to kind of prove himself, he's like, well, what if I work twice as hard and I work day and night to become a master? How long will it take then? And so the master sits back and looks at him and says, 20 years. The young samurai is like, wait, what? How can it take twice as long if I'm working harder? The master replies, if you have one eye fixed on your destination, then you only have one eye left to find your way.
But I think what's truly important is the ability to detach yourself from the outcome. It is one of the most important things that I have adopted in my life. Set the goal, know where you want to go, know where you're aiming, and then let it go. It's possible, in fact, it's probable and likely it might take you longer to get there. And so what if it does? If it does, you're still making forward progress every single day.
It's really important that we understand that better is not always visible. You can be getting better and it not be public, because very often private victories will precede public accomplishments.
Most people never pick up the phone and call. Most people never ask. And that's what separates sometimes the people that do things from the people that just dream about them. You gotta act. And you've got to be willing to fail. You've got to be willing to crash and burn. You know, with people on the phone, with starting a company, whatever. If you're afraid of failing, you won't get very far.
You need discipline. You need personal discipline. There's times when you don't feel like doing what needs to be done to get this. But you got to say, feelings has nothing to do with it. This is my dream. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do the things that I don't feel like doing. I'm going to do the things I don't want to do. I'm going to do the things that don't come easy to me, that do not come natural to me. I'm going to get up and do it. You can't live your life on feelings.
Loneliness. It's a feeling we all experience, though it's rarely something we talk about. When it creeps in, it can feel overwhelming, suffocating even, as though you've been cast aside, forgotten, or left to face the world alone. But here's a thought. What if loneliness wasn't something to run from? What if instead it held the keys to a deeper understanding of yourself? Loneliness is often misunderstood. It's painted as emptiness, as a void that needs to be filled with people, noise, or distractions. In reality, loneliness isn't the absence of connection. It's the opportunity to reconnect with yourself. And in a world that's always pulling you in a million directions, solitude is a rare and powerful thing. We live in a culture that glorifies being busy, being surrounded, being plugged in. We equate a full social calendar or an endless stream of notifications with a full life. And when that quiet moment comes, when the noise fades and the distractions stop, loneliness feels like failure, as if being alone somehow makes you incomplete. That's the misconception. Loneliness isn't about what's missing outside of you. It's about what you have yet to find within yourself. When everything else is stripped away, when the spotlight dims and the crowd disperses, you're left with the one person who will always be with you, yourself. And that's where the real work begins. There's a reason so many of life's breakthroughs happen in the quiet. When you're alone, you're forced to face the parts of yourself that are often buried under the noise, the insecurities you try to ignore, the dreams you've been too afraid to pursue, the questions you've been too distracted to answer. Solitude gives you the space to reflect, to feel, to grow. It's in those quiet moments that you start to see yourself more clearly. Not the version of you that you present to the world, but the real you. The one with doubts and fears and flaws, but also strength and resilience and untapped potential. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It doesn't happen when you're surrounded by constant validation or external noise. It happens when you're willing to sit with yourself, to embrace the discomfort of being alone, and to use it as a chance to understand who you are and what you want. Silence has a way of bringing clarity, of stripping away the distractions and revealing what truly matters. In solitude, you can hear your own thoughts without interference. You can tune into the voice inside you, the one that gets drowned out in the chaos of daily life. What is that voice telling you? What dreams have you put on hold? What truths have you been avoiding? Loneliness doesn't just leave you with questions. It gives you the space to find answers. And those answers, they're the foundation for the life you're meant to create. Instead of seeing loneliness as a problem to solve, try seeing it as a tool to use. Use it to reconnect with yourself.
The ability to be comfortable in your own company is a rare and powerful thing. It means you're not afraid of the quiet, of the stillness, of the moments when it's just you and your thoughts. It means you've built a foundation within yourself that doesn't crumble when the world around you shifts. When you learn to value your own company, loneliness stops feeling like a burden. It becomes a choice, a time to recharge, to reflect, to reconnect. It becomes a reminder that you are enough, exactly as you are. Here's the reality. The time you spend alone is never wasted. It's where the most important growth happens. It's where you learn what you stand for, what you value, and what kind of life you want to build. Loneliness can be painful, yes, but it can also be transformative. It can teach you resilience. It can help you find clarity. It can show you that your strength doesn't come from the people around you. It comes from within. If you're feeling lonely right now, don't run from it. Sit with it. Embrace it. Use it as an opportunity to grow, to reflect, to reconnect with the person you're becoming. This is your time to build something extraordinary, not outside of you, but within you. Loneliness isn't the absence of connection. It's the space where you rediscover yourself. And in that space, you'll find everything you've been looking for.
Crossing that river of change from the old self to the new self, there's a neurological, a biological, a chemical, a hormonal, a genetic death of the old self. But if you teach people there's something on the other side, they won't give up on themselves. That once they start getting beyond themselves and that magic starts to happen, then I have no idea, I can't predict what's going to happen next. And it's usually pretty exciting.
I'll give you one because this one is profoundly impactful. You're more likely to believe something negative than you are something positive. Now think about how that can echo through your life. Each of us has to realize that all of the beliefs that we have in our life are choices. The scary part about the most important beliefs in your life is most of them are invisible.
No one's gonna do anything for you. Couple rules of being a real leader. You need to take responsibility for your own life. Nobody owes you anything, but you owe other people everything. That's what a leader does. You take responsibility. You know exactly right now what you're not doing. You know exactly what you're afraid of. You know exactly what you've been avoiding, and you got to make a decision to change it. You know exactly what it is. Don't BS anybody. You know what you need to do different. You know the changes you need to make. And if you can do that, you stop kidding yourself, you can win. You can overcome your fear, overcome procrastination, whatever that is.
Complain all you want, vent all you want, you just earned that. But at some point, you're gonna have to stop feeding the monster and putting poison in your own mind. And you're gonna have to teach yourself how to start to find milestones that are positive so that you can become healthier, so that you can change how you think.
But most of us take the choice that makes us feel good. It means I want to check off every single box of all the possibilities of what I'm supposed to be in life, leaving nothing to question in my life.
When I think about internally, the thing that warms my soul is I think about the people out there that are extraordinary. They could do something amazing with their lives, but they won't because they don't believe in themselves. Figure out what that thing is, that huge goal that you have, why you want it, because chances are that you're going to be able to do it in smaller ways along the way. If it makes you feel heavy, daunted, and terrified to pursue it because you're obsessing over the end goal, it's some like traditional marker of success, money, a big company, whatever, and not how you want to help people, then it's just a matter of reframing. If, on the other hand, is because you think you're supposed to want that thing, but you don't actually want it, and so the idea of pursuing it and all that you would have to do to get there is just horrifying to you, then yes, you've picked the wrong goal. Just remember, don't chase something because people have told you that you should want it. Literally just look at what gives you more energy than it takes.
You need a pathway. You need to know, you need to have a map, and you need to know where you're located on the map, and you need to know how you're moving forward. And that gives you hope because you're moving towards goals that you regard as worthwhile. And it stops you from being anxious because you're not entirely directionless and lost. And so learning how to manage your time is useful. And you could start with a calendar. You could start with simple things like you can put in, well, when you're likely to go to bed and when you're likely to get up. And regulating that's useful. That should be relatively ritualistically consistent.
And nobody changes until they change their energy. And when you change your energy, you change your life. You just disconnected from the energy of your future.
You got to be greater than the conditions in your environment. You got to maintain that state of being. You got to be greater than the habits and emotions of your body. And you got to sustain it for an extended period of time. So when you no longer you're identifying with your body, your environment, and time, that's the moment you're pure consciousness. So then, if the brain can change, then the mind doesn't change the brain. Mind is the brain in action. It's consciousness that changes it. So when people begin to disengage and get beyond themselves, you are at your absolute best when you get beyond yourself. They reach that generous present moment where they just feel connected.
It's all about the reasoning. You can do anything you like, but it's why are you doing it?
We have fat set points, we have financial set points, we have relationship set points. We have these set points that we become accustomed to achieving. And then all of the supporting evidence, the stories, the themes, the plot lines, the perceptions and behaviors all must match the set point. And so you can ask yourself two questions. Number one is, how did that set point get there? And then how do I change it? Right? So how it got there is through all of your conditioning, through what you've read, what you've done, what you've experienced, what you've been told, what you've seen. All of that is created based on your story. And so the first thing to recognize is the set point can be changed. And the question is how? What drives behavior more than anything else? It's not skill, it's not knowledge. Skill and knowledge is potential power, but what does drive behavior more than anything else is beliefs. And so if there is a belief in the brain that says, yes, I think I'm capable of achieving double my income, but there's another belief that opposes that, that causes what we know is neural dissonance. So it creates a chaotic vibration in the brain between the conscious and non-conscious mind. So the key is to get alignment between the new goal, which is a conscious pattern of thought that you can choose in an instant, and the non-conscious part of the brain around that goal.
View myself as the weakest person on the planet Earth. My goal in life was to, in my mind, believe I'm the hardest man alive. And that's why the whole thing is can't hurt me. That's what it's about. It's about whatever you think you are, you have to make that dream a reality. But that's where the hard part is making that dream reality.
So how do you develop a belief, right? So it's a pattern. So if I gave you a sentence and you said that sentence one time, you'd probably, great, it'd be a sentence like one of those, like hearing a line in a song one time. But if you heard a line in a song repeatedly 20, 30, 40, 50 times, and you had other associations with that to reinforce that pattern, then you would start to develop a non-conscious pattern through that. So we know that using, let's say, visualization, you're actually bypassing the conscious mind and you're accessing the visual cortex of the brain. It's a non-conscious process, the visual processor. And so if we take words and we affirm them and we feel them and we visualize and repeat them 100, 200, 500, 1,000 times, now we start to create a pattern at the non-conscious level that basically reinforces a conscious desire. Can't hurt me. I want people to have that mantra in their life. Take that with you. Take it everywhere you go in life. And if you believe that and you work towards that, callous in your mind, strengthen yourself, can't hurt me is strong. But you say that enough to you. False motivation becomes real motivation after a while.
And the problem with all this is that when you do it habitually, or when you complain as just a default mode and you don't realize how much you're doing it, you're allowing your mind to filter the world a certain way, and you're allowing yourself to live an existence where your own thoughts are poisonous.
Life and society made this big world with all these endless possibilities. Endless possibilities. My life made my possibilities this big because it made me afraid of all these different things. So all this stuff trapped my mind, it shackled my brain, it made me a prisoner within my own self, saying this is all I can do. Because why? I'm afraid of this, I'm insecure over here, I got self-doubt over here, that behind me, whoa, who knows what's behind me? I'm gonna look behind me. So your life is this big. Versus it being like, I can do all this shit out here if I start to break down these these different walls and barriers. Because I was afraid. But you overcome those fears, guess what happens? The whole world, you unlock this door and everything opens back up again.
As long as we are on this planet, you're going through two things. You're going through recovery and discovery. Recovery of our past, recovery of what we're dealing with right now, and then discovery. Identity is a key, because if we don't know who we are, we're gonna be chasing our identity for our whole life. And so I believe that when you find out where you came from, who you are, and what your purpose is, you cannot be stopped. And it's this whole idea of you've been born an original, don't die copy. But my challenge is that what my true identity was not true.
For the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about you. I want you to just think about you for a moment. I want you to think about your life. I want you to think about how you're living versus how you'd really like to live.
When you set goals, when you have an intention on something that you want to change about your life, your brain helps you. What it does is it opens up a checklist, and then your brain goes to work trying to remind you. And I say that word purposefully, the skill of knowing how to hear that inner wisdom and that intention kicking in and leaning into it quickly. I could not undo these things. Isn't that why it's so difficult for you to make changes in your life? Because you think that things can't be undone? The fact is, any excuse that you come up with, you can undo. Tuition can be reimbursed, apartments can be leased, Plan B can be invented. So I got up, I repacked that U-Haul, and I drove out of town. I let myself make a U-turn in life.
Got to aim at something. It's like, otherwise your life is meaningless. Well, what should you aim at? Well, I don't know. Well, pick something. Pick something. Aim at it. As you move toward it, you'll get wiser. Then maybe your aim will change. That's okay. But at least it'll change in an informed way. It's like discipline yourself in one dimension. See what happens. That's exciting. And I think that's something that's open for everyone. You can do that. I shouldn't say that because I don't believe that. I think you can find yourself in a situation that's so dire that there's no escape from it. But that doesn't matter, because the hero myth might not be, the best we have might not always work. But it's still the best we have. And the fact that it might not work doesn't mean we should throw it away. It's still the best we have. I mean, everyone dies, and so we fail in some sense. The fact that a symphony ends doesn't mean that it wasn't worth listening to.
If you ever find your gut battling your head, save yourself the drama. I guarantee you your gut is right. Guarantee you your excuses can be undone. And I guarantee you you can make a U-turn in your life right now if you want to. Desire is there. Again, it's about how do you go from knowledge to action. So the first thing in this story that's important is realizing that the answer was indie. And my mind was telling me, pay attention. Because remember, your brain is wired to stop you from doing things that are uncomfortable or uncertain or scary. It's your job to learn how to move from those ideas that could change everything into acting up.
Everyone visualizes, whether he realizes it or not. Visualization is one of the great secrets of success. That's where we build a picture in our mind. When Van Gogh was asked, how do you do such beautiful work? He said, I dream my painting, and then I paint my dream. Well, that's the way it works. Solomon said, where there is no vision, the people will perish. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to die. It means their results are going to get weaker and weaker and weaker, and they're just not going to be making it happen the way they want to. Everyone visualizes, whether he realizes it or not. Visualization is a great secret of success, and it intensifies your wisdom and enables you to make use of advantages you formerly failed to recognize.
I think, everything starts with a thought. I mean, everything that you do in your life, you have to have a thought before you initiate an action, right? So if you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, like any great leader in history understands that, the first thing you have to do is you have to decide, are you going to be defined by a vision of the future, or are you going to live by the memories of the past?
You know, it's harsh that the rewards of life are indiscriminately distributed, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help to become bitter.
Most people wake up in the morning, and your brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of everything you've learned and experienced to this moment, right? It's a memory bank. So most people wake up in the morning and they start thinking about their problems, and those problems are connected to certain people and things at certain times and places. And the moment they start turning on those circuits, those memories are actually causing them to think in the past. Every single one of those memories has an emotion associated with them, and emotions are the end product of past experiences. So then the moment they recall the event or they recall some problem in their life, they start feeling unhappy, they start feeling discouraged, they start feeling anxious. Now, thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body, and how you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So we could say that most people's entire state of being when they start their day is in the familiar past. Well, if you live in the familiar past, then it makes sense you're going to create the predictable future.
There isn't a better way to live your life. There's no right way and wrong way. There is only the way that gives you more energy. There is only the way that gives you fulfillment. When you have those things, when you're fulfilled by what you're doing and it's giving you, the harder you pursue it, it's giving you more energy, you're on the right path. As the Greeks would say, segalodromo, which means you're on a good road. And that's what I want people to understand. But I don't think that it is a universal path. And so the only universal path is to do the things that give you fulfillment and energy. So if spending time with your friends gives you that, then you should be spending more time with your friends. If dating gives you that, then you should be dating. So you don't need to want to be the best in the world at something. You don't need to want to make a lot of money. You don't need to want to be an entrepreneur. They're literally just stand-ins. They're proxies for fulfillment and energy creation. That's it. So those are the punchlines of what's the meaning of life and all of that stuff. It is to do something that makes you feel a deep sense of well-being, which I'll call fulfillment, and something that gives you energy, where you're literally excited to attack the day.
I start with identities because I think that's the root of all our challenges, is starting at the root, not starting at the symptoms or the superficial or the surface level, but let's go to the root. If you're playing a role, if you're wearing a mask, if you're dressed in clothes that are not yours, then you end up living a life that's not yours. Because guess what? When you fake being someone for so long, you think it's your reality. And that's what happens to all of us. We play a role at work, we play a role at home, we play a role with our family, we play a role with our friends, and then we think that role is us. And we lose ourselves. And to me, that is the core reason why we're chasing things that are not important to us.
A lot of you that are running from things instead of running to things. And that's a huge difference, running from something versus running to something. And so I want you to think about that for a minute, because you don't have to move across country to change your life. And you don't have to do something drastic to experience drastic positive change. And here's the thing about running away from your problems, running away from your past. Have you ever noticed that when you run away, it tends to follow you?
All we have, which everybody talks about, is this moment, this precious second right now. So the more I can be here right now, the more I'm living, the life that I want to live. Too much about the future, too much about the past. I can use those as something to, hope for in the future, as a guiding post from the past. But right now is the moment that every one of us has.
I never really aspired to happy because happy is usually determined by external factors. I go for the joy. Because when you have joy at home, when you have joy inside, it don't matter much what's going on out here. You understand? You got your joy. And you can come home to your joy no matter what is going on in the world. Far too many of us have our happiness, our peace, our joy, our value, our worth hooked into some external stimulation. And then we wonder why we're stressed out and overweight and can't sleep.
You have those scars in your brain from life, but what we don't do is we try to hide those scars. We don't want to go back and revisit it. So I started realizing that my life was causing a whole bunch of scarring on my brain. And I had to go back and really break open that scar and let it bleed. And that was a very painful journey for me to go back.
Who are you letting ruin your dreams? What scorecard are you judging yourself by? Screw that. This is your time. This is your opportunity. This new world that we live in with access like you listening to me right now, access to so much knowledge. We have access to information. This is your time. There's no better time. There's no different time. This is your time. The only way it'll happen is if you change the story in your head. If you say, change the scorecard, change your desires, find your passion. Don't, when people tell you stop dreaming, tell them, I'm sorry you gave up on yours. I'm not quite there yet. That's the response you need to shift.
Every day I'm winning. Every day I'm winning the other voice in my head. So I'm at peace with myself. The things I do for fun are like me bettering myself. Yeah. But I also love accomplishing and overcoming myself every day. Because every day is a battle. Every day is a battle because your mind wants to choose the path of least resistance. Every day. But you don't become better by ever doing that. You become normal. And I don't want to be normal. So it may not be a life for everybody, but I find a lot of peace in not being normal in my life.
Dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. Goals on the road to achievement cannot be achieved without discipline and consistency.
As Shakespeare noted, there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. There's nothing good or bad, right? There's just stimulus and then there's response. But people think that it is objectively a certain way. So now because they think it is objectively a certain way, they feel they are supposed to react based on those emotions that are getting kicked up in their mind. If you want to always be moving towards your goal, you want to be optimized, you got to learn to get control of your emotions. You've got to learn to understand to tell yourself a narrative that isn't predicated on necessarily identifying what is objectively true, because I don't think that we experience the world that way. It's identifying what's going to work to get me to my goal.
Your joy, your sadness, your happiness, your misery is determined by something or somebody around you. The chances of you being joyful in your life is remote. Is it true that human experience joy or misery, agony or ecstasy, madness or sanity, everything is created from inside? At least if you're a manager, if you're going to be a manager, at least what is happening from within you must happen your way. Because essentially management means having situations the way we want it. Yes. Management means what? Having situations the way we want it. Well, if the world is not happening your way, at least this one must be happening your way, otherwise what kind of management is this?
I want to convince you that the human brain is a naturally creative instrument. It is designed for making connections between ideas, for envisioning DEF and beyond. It wants to go in that direction. Creativity is not a function of some freakish genetic wiring that occurs in the brains of a few people. It is instead the function of awakening and exploiting the natural creative energy we all possess. Well, highly creative people have both. They have the knowledge and the experience, plus the mental fluidity, which gives them the ability to see more possibilities in the world around them and to maximize, to realize to its fullest, the natural connecting power of the human brain.
You know, it's really identifying who someone is at their core, and starting from that place, it can be really confusing. I think it's always a discovery process, but I think we have to define moments in our life. You know, that's kind of a helpful framework, is to figure out what are the times in our life when we felt completely connected and in the moment. When did we feel like we were rooted in what I would call a spiritual experience that wasn't outcome-based, that wasn't based upon making a bunch of money, but was based about being in this beautiful moment and going, gosh, I'm exactly where I need to be and this is who I am. So I find it's helpful for people to first figure out what are those moments. And that starts to create a framework for someone realizing, okay, those moments, I can kind of describe who I am.
Is it terribly obvious to me what you are working on, what skills you're trying to develop, what projects you're trying to complete, to stretch yourself, to grow yourself? Or is every day another reaction day? Because listen, if every day is another reaction day, you are in a fixed mindset. Write it down. If every day is another reaction day, you're in a fixed mindset. You stop believing in big projects that would require you to schedule stuff out. You stopped thinking, what skills must I master to grow? Because you're just trying to handle all the problems. Remember, you're stuck in one signal of problems.
Challenges are what really grow us. You know, your life is a great story. You know, every person's life is a story. The question is, some people's story is a warning, some people's story is an example. Right now, you're an example that's growing and expanding, and you have a chance to have this be the most incredible life, but it won't be a life without challenge. And the challenges we're facing right now give you an opportunity to grow like very few generations. If you watch a great movie, if you read a great book, you know, the size and the power of the hero, how much you become as a hero is defined by how tough an obstacle you face, how difficult is the villain, the opponent. And so sometimes when I've been through the toughest times in my life, one of the questions I've had to ask myself or note to myself is, I finally have a really worthy opponent. This is scaring the hell out of me, or this is challenging me, or this is making me crazy. But I also know in my gut and in my soul that if I can push through, it's just like you've done
in these years. You push through tough times, I'm sure, many of them. But as you push through those, you become more. As you become more, something magical happens. You don't just grow, you expand in your spirit and your soul and your capacity and your skill. And all of a sudden, fear becomes less and less a part of you.
If you're going to be uncomfortable, your reward has to be big. So if you're going to be making a change, ask yourself, why is what I want to achieve so important to me? Why am I willing to use my new willpower and persistence? And why am I willing to go through the discomfort of change? Why am I willing to listen to the negative talk that I have or the emotion that I have and still do it anyway? And if you don't have a big enough reason, the first time you have a chance for an excuse, you'll take it. Or they say, you know what, I'm not happy in my relationship. And 2 weeks later, they're back with the same person, or they find another person just like the one that they left. Or people are afraid to leave their jobs because they don't like the discomfort of change. Well, the only certain thing in the universe, the only constant is change. Everything that's the only constant in the universe, it's an oxymoron. It's like, how can change be the only constant, the only stable thing? Because everything's changing. So why not acquire the skill to be comfortable in change? The meaning that I give, remember I said you have to reframe things? The meaning I give things now is when I am uncomfortable, I'm changing and I'm growing. And then so we go through these waves of comfort and change, and that's just like the waves of life.
Moment of willingness and the moment of trusting the universe. Like people talk about rock bottom. I mean, that's just a moment. Like you could always go lower. To me, a rock bottom is a moment of being spiritually deflated, defeated, essentially hating your life. And it can always go a bit lower. But there's always a window. I feel like the universe, from my experience, creates a window if you do want to change. If you do want help, a window is created. Now, it may not be the window you want, and it may not be the fabulous straits that you want to open up, but there'll be a window because all of a sudden your mindset is believing there's a window and it believes that you can change. And I just think there's always that opening.
Courage comes from courage means to take heart. It's the awareness that life is on your side, that love always wins, that peace always wins, that joy always wins, because the higher frequencies are way more powerful than hate and disinterest and resentment and animosity and pseudo-control, a false authority. Love always wins in the universal scheme of things. So with that, we take heart. We have a level of courage, and we have to have the courage to opt out of the old paradigm. You have to ask yourself on a regular basis, what am I doing as I'm opting out of the old? What am I doing?
I want to take the calculated risk, to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to live from hand to mouth. I prefer the challenges of life to the guaranteed existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the still calm of utopia. I will never cower before any master, nor bend to any threat. It's my heritage to stand erect, proud and unafraid, to face the world boldly and say, I did this, I did this. This is my dream.
When I'm talking, because I ask them to ask themselves those questions, and that's the answer. Well, what's meaningful? Well, I have a meaningful relationship with my father. I have a meaningful relationship with my wife. When I commit to something and make sacrifices, if something's valuable, you make sacrifices to attain it. That discovery of sacrifice, I think that's what separates it's one of the primary factors separating human beings from animals. Because we discovered that we could let go of something we value in the present, and we would gain something we value even more in the future. We acted that out dramatically in all sorts of strange ways over thousands and thousands of years before it was formalizable psychologically. But it's a massive discovery. I can forego gratification in a particular way and benefit in the future. So I can share the proceeds of my hunt. And I store up future food in the form of reputation and the favors I'm owed now by other people. It's a massive discovery.
A lot of us dream big. You should dream big. Dream big's important. You know, some of us want to be doctors, lawyers, dentists. So you have this big dream, you can see it so clear, like it's right in front of you. You can go out and touch it. But the thing about it is somewhere, if you dream big enough, somewhere down that journey, that dream becomes a nightmare. And what happens in that nightmare, you start to have all these questions, like you may start to fail tests, and all these questions start to flood your mind. Why am I here? I'm not good enough. Trust me, I know all about the questions. They will flood your mind. If you do not have the answers for them, you will quit. The answers lie in the repetitions. You must not forget the repetitions you put into trying to dominate the craft that you're in today. Always, always embrace the suck, adapt to the suck.
Being on the calls to make yourself unstoppable, to get out of your mind the polluting negative thoughts that's causing most people to go through life being stuffed because they're volunteer victims. Somebody said that many people die at age 25 and don't get buried until they're 65 because they got so much garbage in their minds.
Question is, what do you believe? Do you believe that you are worthy of happiness? Do you believe that happiness, success, abundance, comfort, fulfillment, peace, joy, love is a part of your birthright? Is that what you believe? Or do you believe something else? Because you will manifest the life that you believe.
Successful people, whether they're taught it like we teach it, or they just know how to do it automatically, they do it. They feel fear, and then they release that fear and they take action anyway. So they can turn their fear into fuel is one of the things that we teach people how to do. Turn your fear into your fuel. And when you turn your fear into your fuel in a calm, centered way.
The underlying presupposition there is that in our phenomenological landscape, so that's the world as we experience it, complete with emotions and motivations and dreams, and so the full range of human experience, including the subjective and the objective, let's say, can broadly be broken into two domains. And one is the domain of things that are beyond our grasp and reach, and that's the unknown. The unknown emerges. When the unknown emerges, you tend to experience anxiety. And then there's the known, and I define the known very specifically and very carefully. The known is the place you are when what you're doing produces the results you want. And I say want because that brings motivation and motion into the game. So you're motivated to pursue something. You pursue it, and what you want happens. Not only do you get what you want, but you get validation for the structure that governs your perceptions and your actions.
Here's what do it anyway has done for me. The idea that I just do it anyway has pushed me to realize and to recognize that there are a lot of moments where there are things in my life that I really want to do, I need to do, I should do, but when the moment comes, I don't feel like it. And so I pull out this idea of, you know what, I'm just gonna do it anyway. It's raining outside. I said I would go for a short run. I don't feel like it. I'm gonna do it anyway. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. It's cold. What do? I do it anyway. When you start to say to yourself, I'm gonna do it anyway, what happens is something really cool. You acknowledge that there are feelings that you have that are trying to swoop in and hijack you. You acknowledge them and you basically say, guess what? I'm gonna do it anyway.
Well, we gotta understand what's happening. You think on frequencies. Now this has to do with goals. When you set a goal, You have to flip your brain onto the frequency that the good that you desire or that you need for that goal is there. So most people don't make the decision because they don't know how to get it. You don't have to know how to get it, the will to do it. You're going to make the decision. You don't make the decision when you've got enough money or when you've got all the resources. You make the decision. When you make the decision, you flip your brain onto a higher frequency, and then you're on the frequency, you begin to attract everything on that frequency. That's where the law of attraction comes in.
I think that the people that are discovering how to unleash their greatness are people who have the mental resiliency and the courage to face failure, that you will fail your way to greatness. That most people allow their fear of failure, 80% allow their fear of failure to outweigh their desire to succeed. When you're willing to fail again and again and again, when you make up your mind to become unstoppable, when you make up your mind to become a no matter what person, then that will then give birth to a part of yourself that you don't know right now.
No one's coming back to help me. So it starts with that person in that mirror. You have to realize you are on your own now. And whatever else you believe in, I don't care what you believe in, but on earth, it's a very lonely journey. And it starts with the accountability mirror of looking at saying, hey, all these things are coming back. I have to face myself. And you have to own all those things that people may have done to you. Now it's yours. You got to own it. It's yours now to fix the problems that people did to you. It makes no sense. It's not fair. I get it. But if you live in that woe is me mentality of guess what? My dad did this to me. My mom did this to me. People who bully did this to me. You're going to always live right there. You have to figure out ways to move forward because you're not coming back.
Indiscriminate. Only when your attention and involvement is indiscriminate does the universe open up to you. Because life is happening because of its openness. This is a fundamental difference between death and life is, people are thinking it's just breath, all right, on one level. That is also openness. Whether you allow this to happen or you don't allow it to happen. Whether you did it consciously or unconsciously, but it's happening, isn't it? Openness is on every subatomic particle, is in communication with everything. That's why this is going on. Breath is happening, so much is happening in connection with everything. It is only in openness you're alive. As you close doors, you're dying in installments.
If I live within my mind in a place of inadequacy, let's take one that's very common for people, like I'm not enough somehow, right? Like I'm not young enough, I'm not fast enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not wealthy enough, whatever it is, I'm not good enough, then that becomes like this sort of linguistic prison that somebody lives within. Now that is going to create frustration, dis-ease, the absence of ease, and then that cascades into the physicality. So the subtle level is the mind, and then that manifests in the body. Like I am depressed. Like it's inaccurate. It's I know that's how they feel, but it's not who they are. And so I like to create separation so that you can sort of disentangle yourself from these deeper seated beliefs of inadequacy, insecurity, and scarcity. So that's where, for me, most people are doing everything they can to obviously have a vital life, to be well, to be healthy. But if you don't change the relationship you have with yourself and your subconscious and your mind, it's all for now, as far as I'm concerned. Like at best, you're going to get transitory relief. You know, you're basically becoming the best version of your limited self.
The problem with passion, you know, people gave me the same good advice. Do what you love. Thank you. Thanks. You know, find your passion. Thank you. Like, what am I supposed to do with that advice? Right. You know? And what I learned is that passion, like profit, is a result. When we commit ourselves to some higher purpose, some higher cause, passion is the result. When we work hard for something we don't believe in, it's called stress. When we work hard for something we do believe in, it's called passion. Passion is not the entry point, it's at the exit point. So the question is not to find your passion or find the thing you're passionate about. The question is, what do you believe? The question is, what are your ideals? What are your values? And where are the places in which those people or those organizations share your values? Share your beliefs. Who is articulating a vision of a world that you would like to live in? Push yourself in those directions. Be around those people. Align yourself with those organizations. And what you will find is you show up every day with passion.
Not the type of guy who sits in my house meditating 24 hours a day and expect things to come to me. I'm a pragmatist. I'm a practical person. I'm going to take value in information, I'm going to apply it and see if I can gain more value from it. So the message is not to sit and meditate and just receive universal love and do nothing else. Because my message is to not disengage in life, but to fully engage in life. That's my message.
The only way that you're going to overcome that stuff is to go all out every day, knowing that it's going to take a long time. But the only way that that dream is going to come true, even over that long period of time, is if you're going all out every day. So literally, a mantra in my life, and I cannot stress this enough. This is a cornerstone of why I've been able to achieve at the level that I've been able to achieve. Every day, everything I'm doing, I'm asking, why can't it be done faster? Why can't I accomplish more right now? That it's not okay to put something off even till tonight. I need to do it right now. Now, you need to get very good at prioritizing, because if you're trying to do everything right now, you're going to accomplish nothing. And if you're trying to be gimmicky or do shortcuts, all of that's going to fail, because none of that is playing the long game. But if ever you're allowing yourself to slow down because you simply are acknowledging that this stuff takes time, I'm telling you, it's never going to work. You've got to go all out. You've got to create momentum